The morning you stop selling your time is the morning your life quietly changes. No lottery. No viral business. No miracle investment. Just one notification that most people would ignore. $41 has been deposited into your account. You weren't working. You weren't checking emails. You weren't answering calls. You were asleep. And somehow, money found its way to you anyway. That single notification feels different. Not because it's a lot of money, but because of what it represents. For the first time in your life, your money worked harder than you did 5 years earlier. That version of you would have laughed. The one who hit snooze 3 times every morning. The one who dreaded Mondays before Sunday even ended. The one who believed financial freedom was something reserved for millionaires or lottery winners. You don't smile because you're rich. You smile because you finally understand the game. And once you understand the game, you can never unsee it. At 26 years old, you weren't earning a fortune. You simply made one decision that almost nobody around you was willing to make. You delayed gratification. While everyone upgraded their phones, you kept yours. While your friends financed newer cars, you drove the reliable one that was already paid for. While weekends became expensive dinners and impulse shopping, you stayed home more often. Not because you had to, because you had a bigger goal. Slowly, month after month, your savings reached 5 figures. $10,000. To most people, that felt like spending money. A vacation, a luxury watch, a designer couch, something to show the world you were finally successful. Instead, you bought something nobody wanted to talk about. A boring dividend ETF. No exciting headlines. No promises of getting rich overnight. Just a simple investment built to quietly pay its owners year after year. Your friends didn't understand it. Honestly. Most people never do. Because boring doesn't get attention. Consistency does. At roughly a 4% annual yield, that investment paid around $400 during your first year. $400. Some people would laugh. That's it? Maybe. But they completely missed the point. That wasn't just $400. It was your first paycheck. That didn't require your time. Every dollar you'd ever earned before came with conditions. Wake up early. Fight traffic. Deal with difficult coworkers. Answer emails. Sit through meetings that should have been messages. Trade another hour. For another dollar. This money asked for none of that. It arrived while you lived your life. That changes something deep inside your mind. Because once money earns money, everything looks different. A few weeks later, you're eating lunch at work. Your coworker notices the investment app on your screen. He laughs. Dude, all that for $400 a year? He shakes his head. I made more than that this week. Maybe he did. By Friday, that money had already disappeared. A new watch. A weekend out. Another purchase forgotten a few months later. You don't argue. You don't explain. You simply close your phone. Some lessons can't be taught. They have to be lived. Then something interesting happens. The first dividend payment arrives. It isn't much. Enough to buy dinner. Enough to justify spending it immediately. Most people would. You don't. Instead, you press one button. Reinvest. That's it. No celebration. No social media posts. No applause. Just a tiny fraction of another share added to your account. The number barely changes. Most people would never even notice. But you do. Because that tiny fraction has a job now. It will earn money. That buys even more shares. Which earn even more money. The snowball has started rolling. And here's the dangerous part. At first, it doesn't look like a snowball at all. It looks almost invisible. That's why so many people quit too early. They expect fireworks. Real wealth usually grows in silence. Months pass. Then years. Life continues. You keep working. You keep investing. You keep ignoring the noise. Little by little, your portfolio reaches $50,000. Not because of one lucky investment, Because of hundreds of ordinary decisions, repeated consistently. And one quiet Sunday morning, while drinking coffee at your kitchen table, you notice something strange. Your investments now generate about $2,000 every year. Enough to cover bills you used to think were permanent. Electricity, internet, subscriptions, expenses that once came directly from your paycheck are now being paid by your assets. Think about that for a second. Every time you switch on the lights, your investments help pay the bill. Every time your Wi-Fi connects, your portfolio quietly covers the cost. It's a strange feeling, one almost nobody around you understands. And that's exactly why you stop talking about it. Because while everyone else is chasing the appearance of wealth, you're quietly building the real thing. But the biggest test hasn't happened yet. And when it arrives, it almost convinces you to abandon everything you've built. The next test doesn't look like a market crash. It doesn't look like a recession. It looks like a text message. Late one Saturday night, your college friend Marcus sends you a screenshot. Bro, I found it. A stock paying 12% dividends. Monthly income. Huge payouts. He tells you this is the shortcut. This could triple your passive income. For a moment, you hesitate. Who wouldn't? 12% sounds a lot better than 4. Your brain immediately starts doing the math. $100,000 could become $12,000 a year. It feels almost irresistible. But then, you stop chasing the number and start asking a better question. Why is the yield so high? You open the chart. Within seconds, the excitement disappears. The stock hasn't been climbing. It's been collapsing. Down 40% in just 2 years. The dividend looks massive. Because the company is bleeding. Investors aren't buying. They're escaping. This is what experienced investors call a yield trap. It promises income, but quietly destroys your wealth. You close the chart. You send Marcus one simple message. Be careful. He replies with a laughing emoji. That night, he invests $10,000. 6 months later, the dividend is cut in half. The stock falls another 30%. Marcus never mentions it again. You don't say, I told you so. You don't need to. The market already did. Meanwhile, your boring ETF keeps doing exactly what boring investments do. It keeps paying. Month after month. Quarter after quarter. Without drama. Without headlines. Without keeping you awake at night. That's when you learn one of the biggest lessons in investing. If something looks too good to be true, it usually is. Real wealth rarely arrives with excitement. It arrives with patience. 3 more years pass. You're 35 now. Your investment account quietly reaches $250,000. No one at work knows. No one needs to. Your lifestyle barely changed. Your discipline didn't. Your investments now produce roughly $10,000 every year. Think about what that really means. Your car payment, insurance, fuel, maintenance, covered. One Tuesday morning, you're stuck in traffic. The driver next to you is sitting inside a brand new luxury car. He's yelling into his phone. His face is filled with stress. His car looks expensive. His life doesn't. You glance at your own car. It's older. Paid off years ago. The paint isn't perfect. The technology isn't cutting edge. But every month, it costs almost nothing. For the first time, you realize something powerful. The goal was never to impress strangers. The goal was to reduce financial pressure. One creates attention. The other creates peace. Only one lasts. That evening, you check your portfolio. It's larger than last month. Not because you added a fortune. Because time did its job. Your mother once told you something when you were 16. The wealthiest people I know don't drive the nicest cars. Back then, it sounded strange. Now, it makes perfect sense. Wealth isn't what people see. It's what people don't see. The debt you don't have. The payments you don't owe. The stress you don't carry. That's the real luxury. At 38, your investments reach $500,000. $500,000. Years ago, that number felt impossible. Now it's simply another milestone. Your portfolio generates around $20,000 each year. Enough to cover the foundation of your life. Housing, food, utilities, the basics. For the first time, work becomes optional. Not because you're ready to retire. Because you finally have choices. One Friday afternoon, your manager walks into your office. He's under pressure. He asks if you can stay late. Years ago, you would have answered instantly. Of course. This time, you pause. Just 3 seconds. 3 quiet seconds. Something inside you has changed. You're no longer responding from fear. You're responding from freedom. You still say yes. But this yes belongs to you. That's the difference money creates. Not luxury. Not status. Choice. You leave the office after dark. The parking lot is nearly empty. Before starting the engine, you sit in silence. You think about your younger self. The 26-year-old who invested his first $10,000. The one everyone thought was too careful. Too boring. Too patient. Most people laughed at him. Now, those same people are still trapped in payments, while your investments quietly pay part of your life. $500,000 doesn't make you rich, but it gives you something many people never experience. The power to say no. And sometimes, that single word is worth more than another paycheck. But the biggest transformation is still waiting. Because the moment your portfolio reaches 7 figures, you stop thinking about money completely. $1 million. For years, it sounded like fantasy. A number reserved for celebrities, CEOs, or people born into wealth. Then one ordinary Tuesday, you look at your portfolio, and there it is. $1 million. No fireworks. No champagne. No dramatic music. Just a number on a screen. But that number changes everything. Not because you're suddenly rich. Because your money has finally become your employee. At a 4% annual income, that portfolio can generate around $40,000 every year. Think about that. A full-time salary. Without clocking in. Without asking for overtime. Without requesting vacation days. Without waiting for a promotion. The money simply arrives. Again. And again. And again. That night, you open your laptop. Not to check stock prices. Not to chase the next hot investment. You open a tax calculator. You type in $40,000. You stare at the result. Then you check it again. Could it really be that simple? For years, you traded your time for taxable income. Working longer. Working harder. Watching a large part of every paycheck disappear before it even reached your account. Now, your investments are doing the heavy lifting. And for the first time, you realize something most people never think about. Financial freedom isn't just about earning more. It's about needing less from your job. The next morning, nothing changes. You drive to work. You greet your coworkers. You attend meetings. You answer emails. Your boss talks about next quarter's targets. You nod. You participate. You do your job. Nobody has any idea. Nobody knows. You could walk away tomorrow. Nobody knows. The person sitting beside you is still racing toward retirement, while you're already building a life that no longer depends on permission. That's the strange thing about real wealth. It doesn't announce itself. It whispers. At lunch, you sit alone on a bench outside. The sun feels warmer. The air feels lighter. Even your sandwich tastes different. Not because the food changed. Because your mind did. You finally understand. $1 million doesn't buy happiness. It buys options. The option to leave. The option to wait. The option to never accept something that violates your values. Freedom isn't loud. Freedom is quiet. It's sleeping without financial anxiety. It's saying no without guilt. It's waking up without panic. That's what you've really been buying all these years. Not stocks. Not dividends. Freedom. 3 years later, your portfolio reaches $1.5 million. By now, the dividends cover around $60,000 every year. Enough to fund the lifestyle millions of retirees hope for. And the most beautiful part? You never had to sell your ownership. Your shares remain. Your assets continue growing. Your income continues flowing. One morning, while drinking coffee by the window, you read a headline. The average American now believes they need over $1 million to retire comfortably. You smile. Not because you beat someone else. Because 15 years ago, you made one small decision and kept making it. You chose patience over excitement, consistency over shortcuts, ownership over consumption. That single decision quietly rewrote your future. You think back to 26-year-old you, the one who skipped expensive weekends, the one who ignored the newest phone, the one who reinvested $400 instead of spending it. At the time, none of it felt life-changing. Each decision seemed tiny, almost invisible. But success is rarely built in giant moments. It's built in ordinary choices, repeated long enough that they become extraordinary. That's the part social media never shows. Nobody posts the years of discipline. Nobody celebrates saying no. Nobody applauds delayed gratification. Yet those invisible moments create visible freedom. You walk into your home office. You open your laptop. You begin typing one final email. Short, respectful, simple. Thank you for the opportunities. I've decided it's time for my next chapter. Today will be my final day. You read it once. You don't hesitate. You click. Send. Then something unexpected happens. You don't feel excitement. You don't feel fear. You don't feel relief. You feel calm. The exact same calm you felt years earlier, when $41 appeared in your account while you were sleeping. Because deep down, you already knew this day was coming. It wasn't created by one investment, or one lucky year, or one perfect stock. It was created by hundreds of ordinary decisions, made consistently, when nobody was watching. And that's the real secret. Financial freedom isn't built overnight. It's built one patient decision at a time. While everyone else spends years working for money, you spend years teaching money to work for you. And one morning, without setting an alarm, without rushing, without asking anyone for permission, you wake up, pour a cup of coffee, watch the sun rise, hear your phone buzz, and smile. Not because you became wealthy, but because you finally own your mornings.